I'll fly, and I'll fly into the end of the sky. So I'll be the one who doesn't have to say goodbye.
Hello guys, I'm Love Reaction on this My Little Pony Twishy Sad Romantic SOL fanfic reading called You Cannot Kill the Me in You.
Oh, come on!
It's 15 minutes and 27 seconds long. Okay, it's a Twishy video, Twilight and Fluttershy. Wow, it's sad. It's not a grimdark, it's sad. Sparrow doesn't do sad romantic stories as much. Me personally, I like that sort of stories. It gives you a variety of things to react to. We're going to get this reaction started. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, here we go. That intro needs updating, man. Literally. Hello, Sparrow. Presents. Ooh, interesting music.
I know how it is like to love someone who hates you. Believe me when I say this.
Hello, Fluttershy.
Even though I know you don't mean it.
You don't mean it?
I just can't believe that the same mirror I fell in love with many years ago would be the source of my pain.
Oh?
And my greatest fear.
Pain?
You are the only reason I lived for, but also the only reason I hated my life.
You hated your life? What?
Do you remember how it all
Fluttershy,
started?
don't quit suicide now.
Because I do.
I do?
Do you remember the first time we met? I was the only one with wings back then. You could barely even hear me when I tried to tell you my name.
Is
I
this
didn't tell you the real
Twilight
reason why I was particularly
Is it
shy
Twilight
around
who's
you.
talking?
I just didn't expect to see such a pretty unicorn in town back then.
Oh, Fluttershy's
A
talking.
beautiful unicorn that came from Canterlot that isn't also snobby
Well,
or
she technically
stuck up.
said baby dragon.
To be honest, I didn't know what I was feeling either.
No?
I only knew that this warm, fuzzy feeling within me grew stronger with time.
Ship.
The more I started to spend time with you, the harder it was for me to say goodbye every time you left.
Aww.
And this wasn't like any state of shyness I experienced previously.
Is that supposed to be writing on the
It
canvas?
would never disappear with time,
Oh, quill and pen.
and I knew it. At first, I thought it was normal. In fact, perfectly normal. For
Perfectly
me to
normal.
be feeling
Yeah.
this way.
Yeah. Normal.
After all,
Very normal.
Everyone has had a moment of infatuation in their lives, right?
Yes.
I already knew I was attracted to mares rather than stallions for a long time.
Really?
So it was normal for me to have silly crushes, including one on a lavender mare, right? But little
Not
did I
Big
know,
Mac then. Not Big Mac then.
these feelings would not fade. Crushes disappear with time.
Yeah.
The feelings that they
they
bring
do.
are evanescent and often pointless. This was
I
not one
wouldn't
of
say
them.
it's pointless though.
Every time I thought of you, the butterflies on my flank flew to my
The
stomach,
butterfly effect.
and the fire within my heart rose to my cheeks. Eventually, you just took over me.
Oh.
You were all I could see when I looked into the mirror.
Aw.
You were all I could see in my dreams. Your voice was
Why
the
don't
only
you just
sound
kiss
that
already?
I wished to hear. You became my everything, and I felt like the world was falling apart.
This sounds like a
in your
suicide
absence.
note. It actually sounds like a suicide note,
I
even
couldn't
though it's
take
not.
it anymore.
Is it a suicide note?
I had to make a move. You wouldn't have noticed me otherwise.
Yeah.
And all it took was that one date, that one night, to
One
make
date?
me realize that I was hopelessly in love with you.
Oh.
Do you remember that night?
Fluttershy. I love you.
You walked home with me, under the moonlight with your wing wrapped around me.
She's called Twilight
I
after
still
all.
can't believe you were the one who kissed
Take
me
her.
first.
Take it in Twilight.
You couldn't believe how happy I felt in that moment. As if my wings that stood straight up were
Underneath
not
the
clear enough
starlight.
of an indicator. My eyes immediately sparkled as I gazed into yours. I wanted nothing more than to melt in your embrace and never come out again.
Aww.
Do you remember that very night? Do you remember that very night that we spent almost the entirety of it in my room?
Ooh.
We marked each other as ours.
Is this a
We
blessed
gave each other
session?
a part of ourselves.
This sounds like
When we got tired of all the
a
passion we were
molestia
engaged in,
session.
we just fell asleep, with your warm wings wrapped around me. The pale moonlight illuminating our slumbering forms.
Yeah.
Do you remember when you finally decided to let me move in? I was so excited that I didn't need my wings to fly. It was more than a dream come true.
And I'm
I
Fluttershy.
honestly
How often do you fly
in a castle
how
or in a
often do you
hole by
fly
the
though?
road. As long as you were there. And do you remember, on that very day, you promised that you would make me happy? Do you remember?
No.
You promised. Do you remember that night when I found out that things were not okay? I was so worried that letting me move in was the wrong decision after all. But you kept insisting that it wasn't. I knew you were right, but how can I stop myself from worrying when I saw you awake? With tears flowing from your beautiful purple orbs, just staring into space on multiple nights. You couldn't hide that forever from me. And when I found out, you just said you were stressed. Of course, I knew you were a princess. Of course your life had taken such a toll on you. I tried my best to comfort you, as if you were still a frightened feeling in my arms. I told you it was okay to cry.
This is very sad.
I didn't tell you everything was going to be okay.
This is very sad.
Because I knew it would not be. I only knew that I would be right by your side as we faced them. But it didn't get better.
No?
You didn't just cry in the middle of silent nights anymore. You started spending less time on grooming yourself, and your mane eventually became a mess outside of your working hours. You started getting up late, whereas you were usually the first one up, even among your own family.
I think Twilight is worried about something as well.
Until you stopped completely. Eventually, you didn't even come to bed. And that was when I knew something was seriously wrong.
Very wrong.
You were not the alicorn that every pony called the Princess of Friendship anymore. That spark in your eyes was long gone. You didn't want to see a doctor, but I made sure you did anyway. And so did our other friends. I just thought that was supposed to fix you, not break you even further. Do you remember when the doctors first diagnosed you with depression? You held on to me while you cried, asking me to never
Twilight's got depression now.
It didn't matter if you were a princess or an alicorn. In that moment, you looked more vulnerable than any injured animal that I had ever seen. I promised that I would never let you go. Yes, I promised. I remember.
Oh, dear.
It was alright at first. More than alright, actually. The other girls were there for you too. They made sure you were never alone. It even looked like you were getting better. The doctors agreed to discharge you on the condition that you followed their instructions.
Knowing Twilight, she won't do that.
Started to go downhill. You refused. You refused to take the medicine on your prescription. You refused to follow the doctor's advice and sleep earlier.
Yeah.
You didn't even allow yourself to rest the way they asked you to. You just wanted to go back to the way it was before. The life you weren't made for. You just wanted to go on pretending nothing had ever happened. And I couldn't bring myself to stop you.
You're still a princess.
Couldn't muster the strength to force you to listen. Despite having done that to multiple disobedient critters back at my cottage before. But now I know I should have.
Yeah.
Maybe then you wouldn't have locked me out. Do you remember the times when you were still sane? The times where the Twilight I knew and loved was still there? Do you remember any of those times at all? The times before that night you snapped and threw the book at me? I could hardly believe it. For years you didn't allow any pony else to touch your books.
It's like the 5 stages of grief,
isn't it? You yelled at me and I was met with a hard cover 1 second later. And you broke down, crying like a filly that had just been thrown out of their house before she even got the chance to grow. At first, you only threw your precious books at my face whenever you were fed up or whenever you even got mildly interrupted. You were never so sensitive to disturbances
Twilight is a bit out of character
yet
there.
I know your anger wasn't real, and it disappeared as quickly as it came. The signs of your depression appeared again.
Oh dear.
I tried to comfort you in whatever way I could every time you collapsed in my embrace in tears.
This is so sad,
Be it
man.
physical or emotional. It was all I could do anyways.
Well, the ship is not very
and what
common.
I always did.
The ship's not very common, but...
Somewhere along the line, we both lost our way. You didn't just throw things anymore. You held me by your inescapable magic, making me land on the cold, hard floor of your polished castle.
You
stopped
talk about
actually
this, man. You
studying
need
or
to get
learning.
together and talk.
You didn't do anything real anymore. You weren't disturbed or stressed.
Oh
You were
dear.
just mad for no reason.
Yeah.
Your sorrow was gone, replaced with thoughtless rage. Rage that you would only let out on me. A rage that would never end. And all I felt was a river of pain cascading on me every time. I didn't know what I was supposed to do anymore.
Oh dear.
I didn't know what I felt about you back then. All I knew was that over time, there was no twilight left inside of you anymore.
Writing this very quickly though.
I learned it the hard way, by trying to comfort you like I once did, only to be met by a searing pain to my face.
Oh dear.
You would singe my fur and mane until you didn't even see what you were doing anymore.
Has Twilight thrown a book before?
I never wanted to make this decision, but you forced me to a few weeks ago. You cornered me, your horn alight with no emotion in your eyes. You grabbed my wings and took your sweet time with every feather as you twisted and burnt them until they cracked.
What?
You pinned me against the wall, screaming that you wanted me to die. Whether I couldn't or would not even stop you, I had no idea. I just knew
Twilight
that you were
is definitely
gone,
out of character there.
and it's over. Yes, you heard me right. It's over, whether we like it or not. Do you remember it all, Twilight? Do you remember anything beneath all these broken promises and shattered dreams? Do you know how hard it is for me to keep pretending that it's okay, just so that others wouldn't know the truth? Do you know how it is like to live a life led by a dream that never existed? Do you know how hard it is for me to come back every day and see a desolate wasteland filled with shattered crystals and fragments of our memories that was once our home? Do you even know how hard it is for me to see you anymore, knowing that you are not there? I don't know where you are right now.
No.
Since the purple alicorn that now remains clearly is not you. But I know that I must leave. I don't want to live a life believing in a non-existent dream. And I don't want our other friends to worry about us anymore. But I want you to know, I'm not afraid of you or the damage you inflicted. Even after all this, I want you to know that I only came to life after you happened.
I love you.
The dormant spark within me was ignited when I met you. And I know this fire that burns endless will never be extinguished.
True love still
Because
remains.
you can break the wings on my body, but you can never tear apart the ones in my heart. I may never be able to fly again, but nothing can stop me from ever soaring again. As long as I release myself from this lie. We can deny it as long as we like.
What?
But it wouldn't change the fact that this was not ever meant to be. In this world, there is no place for both of us together. Evidently, all the dreams we had were mere illusions. All our promises, we can forget. But what came alive in us when we saw each other? That is something that will never die, no matter how broken we may be. few years ago,
Twilight
broke
broke
your promise.
Fluttershy's wings.
And today, as I stepped out of the castle I used to call home, I knew that I had broken mine as well.
How do you do that,
You
Twilight?
may not exist anymore, and there might not be a happy ending to our story. But I will not be afraid. At least, not of you. Because you came into my heart, and you will always be there. And I know I will always be in yours too. And I too still believe that you know you can't kill the me in you.
No.
I love you, and I always will. No matter what.
I love you.
Goodbye, Twilight. Fluttershy.
It's from a third person here. Or third pony, I should say. Okay, that was You Cannot Kill the Meat in You. Twilight, how could you? Okay, it's a third. He's reading it is in a third pony setting, but Twilight kind of acted out of character in terms of breaking Fluttershy's wings. I thought, why would Twilight do that, man? How could you do that, Twilight? Exactly, it's not scientifically possible, but it was a good story. I think the sound effect's supposed to be like Fluttershy writing on the parchment. That must be so hard to write with a quill and a hoof. That must be very difficult to do. I don't want to. You need made me bloody cry, man. Bloody hell! You can say, how can you do that, Twilight? Can you break? Oh God. Yeah, dear. At least you didn't kill her. Then I'll be coming after you, Twilight. You understand what I mean? Yeah. Because at first I thought it's that. It could easily be a suicide note. It could easily be a bloody suicide note.
Oh, hello.
It could easily be one. Literally. What made Twilight get depression in the first place? There has to be a trigger point. At first, there should be a trigger point from Fluttershy. There must be no trigger point with Twilight why she acted in the way she did. Other than that, I'm not sure. Well, it was a good story. She's technically an Earth Pony now, which kind of made sense. She wasn't an Earth Pony in G1 as Posey. And she wasn't a good flyer in any case. I mean, Fluttershy. I still love her. Well, hope you like this reaction. My reaction videos I do. And I'll see you next time. Oh, yes.
And I'll fly into the